Hello, everyone. This is Group 5, Government, Civic, or Social Leader Group. This group has selected Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Colin Powell as three leaders to do research on. The group members are Rosie Abreu, Sana Chowdhury, Jacqueline Green, Cynthia Alvina, and Sachin Shrestha. We would like to start this presentation with a brief introduction and a background of each member. I would like to first start with myself. Hi, I'm Sachin Shrestha. I work for an international not-for-profit organization called World Economic Forum, where I'm a FP&A analyst. This is my second semester, and this course has been great, where I have learned a lot of leadership skills that I'm hoping to apply in my professional role. And Rosie?
Hi everyone, this is Rosie Abreu. I work for CUNY as a procurement analyst and supervisor, and this is my second to last semester at SPS. Um, this course has been, and also I am able to apply some of the theories to real life situations, and I enjoyed the class as well. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Anna Chowdhury. I'm an underwriter for Merchant Cash Advance Company in Long Island. This class and this project has exposed me to a lot of new point of views as a team leader, which I am using in enforcing in my workplace right now and hope to do so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jacqueline Green. Presently, I work for Kingsborough Community College as an assistant to the higher education officer within the testing center. Because of this course, I have rediscovered my strengths and learned several tools to improve my weaknesses and becoming a better and authentic leader. Cynthia?
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Alvina, and I am an administrative assistant at Kingsborough Community College in the Behavioral Sciences Department, which I have been a part of for 11 years. As for SPS, this is my third semester, and so far things have been increasingly influential. I am super excited to be part of this program and can't wait to utilize the knowledge I gained from SPS towards my career path. Thank you. Now Rosie will begin with our leadership background.
Thank you. So, what makes a leader? Great leaders have a clear vision. They are brave. They have integrity. They are respectful, honest, humble, and much more. What makes leaders unique are their characteristics, skills, strengths, and actions. Leadership is a process or a development that supports a group of individuals toward a goal accomplishment. Now, moving on to Gandhi, who was born in India in 1869. He was known for being a huge advocate for nonviolent forms of protest. He was a determined civil rights leader and champion for justice around the world. Gandhi grew in a traditional Hindu region in India. As a traditional culture, his parents directed a significant part of his life, including marriage, when he was 13 years old. Gandhi earned his degree in law from New England. One of Gandhi's most successful protests was the Salt March, which was in response to imposing tax on salt by the British. This act of civil disobedience led to the arrest of 80,000 Indians, including Gandhi. Gandhi also played a leading figure role towards India's independence. However, there were a few who didn't agree with Gandhi's philosophy, and as a result, they assassinated him while attending a prayer meeting in 1948. Now, moving on to Martin Luther King Jr., who was born in 1929 in Alberta, Georgia. He was known as a Baptist minister, social activist, civil rights leader, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a priest and preached strongly against racism and its long term effects on the world, a service that forever resonated with his son. Dr. King earned his PhD at the age of 25 and was a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. As president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, Dr. King successfully ran a campaign that focused on national attention on racial segregation in the South, and it threw Dr. King into the national spotlight. Dr. King had a huge victory when the Supreme Court ruled the segregation in the Montgomery buses unconstitutional. In 1968, Dr. King's famous speech, I Have a Dream, may have earned him some negative attention, but also it earned him Man of the Year on Time magazine. He also earned the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for his role in resolving the civil rights crisis. He was assassinated in 1968. Now, moving on to Colin Powell, who was born in 1937. His parents immigrated to Jamaica. He is a native New Yorker that was raised in the South Bronx. He obtained an MBA from George Washington University in 1971. Before that, he went to City College where he obtained his bachelor's and began the Reserve Officers Training Corps, which prepared him for 35 years of his adult life in the U.S. Army. He was known for his pragmatism and strict mannerisms. Powell was the first African American and youngest person who held one of the highest military positions in the U.S. Department of Defense as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was also the first African American to become Secretary of State. Powell received many awards throughout his career, such as Presidential Medal Freedom, Defense Superior Service Medal, and the NAACP Image Award. His principles, Powell Doctrine, emphasized that the U.S. should not go to war without careful consideration. This doctrine was essential during Operation Desert Storm in Iraq in 1991. He retired as a highly decorated and eminent civil servant and soldier. Now, Cynthia will discuss the characteristics of leadership. Thank you.
Starting with Gandhi, he is one of the most known, influential, and transformational leaders in history. Gandhi believed in nonviolent advocacy for the importance of economic independence for India from Great Britain. He followed a passive resistance approach to fight against Great Britain's influence. As Rosie mentioned earlier regarding the salt tax, Gandhi held a nonviolent march which fueled intellectual stimulation of his followers as well as those he passed during his march, which increased his march followers. This increase in support during the Salt March exemplified Gandhi's individual idealized influence and inspirational motivation while providing individualized consideration. Now, for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Baptist minister, the social activist, civil rights leader, and Nobel Peace Prize winner, was also a transformational leader. When segregation was predominant, Dr. King spoke out for himself as well as others. Dr. King dreamt of equality and civil rights. His vision inspired others to follow and fight for equality to all African Americans. As a transformational leader, Dr. King empowered, inspired, and motivated others to go far and beyond their normalities. Dr. King is a great example of a transformational leader. He had a clear direction of his vision, which he shared with his followers. He also inspired motivation through his many speeches, such as his most historical I Have a Dream speech. Dr. King encouraged others that he believed in them and their support mattered. One cannot do it alone, and one must embrace innovation and change in order to develop a society which is beneficial for everyone. Dr. King's leadership was pinnacle during the Civil Rights Movement, which is why he is a historical and influential leader. Finally, Colin Powell. His leadership followed a situational leadership style. Using this style, Powell conformed himself to lead his teams effectively. He showed encouragement and motivation, which created a trustworthy atmosphere for the members of the team. Powell once stated, "You know you're a good leader when people follow you out of curiosity." He earned his team's trust because of his strong communicational skills, including the ability to accept inputs from his subordinates. As a situational leader, Powell clarified team responsibilities, provided adequate support, and empowered others with autonomy. Throughout his career, Powell managed diverse global roles that showed his abilities to adapt. He lived by his statement, "Let the situation dictate the needs and let the leader figure out the best source of action to accomplish the mission." Powell's ability to adjust to the changes exemplifies how he is a prime example of a situational leader. Jackie will discuss leadership strengths and weaknesses.
Gandhi's strength was in the non-violence theory against injustice among Indian people. His act of suffering love was an appeal to humanity that helped other people to understand one another. One must put pressure on one open society for nonviolence resistance to work, stated Gandhi. His weakness began to develop during his long struggle in trying to achieve Indian independence. His goal was to make oppression go away for everyone. He quickly learned that he could not change individual ways of thinking or their hearts. He left an example of a robust leader that many follow, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now moving on to Dr. King. He admitted his weakness was fear when he fought for the rights for blacks and underprivileged people. He decided to no longer withdraw from demonstrations, but rely on his faith to turn his weakness into strength derived from God. He became an outstanding speaker and a driven force in seeking justice through nonviolent methods for everyone. Next, I will discuss Colin Luther Powell. His strengths were his strong work ethics and loyalty to people, and his 35 years of military career as a disciplined warrior. He gradually rose against the odds from an unprivileged background. His weakness when he did not verify the source of the information that was presented to him from the intelligence community. Several individuals from that intelligence community knew the information was untrue, yet they kept it to themselves. Giving a speech that had false information to the United Nations tarnished his reputation as a disciplined warrior and deceived the American people. Sana will discuss the similarities and the differences between the leaders.
Thank you. The first similarity between Gandhi and Dr. King was that they both adopted a transformational leadership style from the very beginning. On the other hand, Powell's style was a situational leadership style. This style consists of task behavior and relationship behavior, which the other two leaders had shown as well. The second similarity between Gandhi and Dr. King's style was their rigid ideology. They both supported the nonviolence method to achieve what they wanted to do. Gandhi was fighting against the British government for the liberty of India, while Dr. King was fighting for African Americans in the United States. On the other hand, Powell's style followed no rigid ideology. Instead, his theory is associated with the cause and effect relationship of leadership traits. Apart from it, he was an ex-military and there was no non-violence influence in his ideology, though he never promoted the violence, just like the other two. Now the differences between these three. The major differences among these leaders are Gandhi and Dr. King were non-violence freedom fighters, whereas Powell was an ex-military and statesman. A definition of statesman means a skilled, experienced political leader. Where Gandhi and Dr. King were following an emotional and sensitive ideology, Powell focused on an organizational and systematical cause and effect relationship of leadership traits. The foremost difference amongst these three were their leadership traits. Powell favors delegation, Gandhi supported self-sufficiency, and Dr. King's traits supported lifelong student behavior. Though there is much more similarity between Dr. King and Gandhi, as Dr. King himself followed Gandhi's ideology. Powell's traits supported being Powell's traits supported being supportive, whereas Gandhi and Dr. King supported being humble. Despite these differences, all all of these three leaders had some common traits, such as coaching and directing the followers. Now, Sachin will be speaking about the reasons behind these similarities and differences.
As Sana mentioned, these leaders had quite a few similarities, and at the same time, they had some differences. Dr. King, Powell, and Gandhi showed many similarities because of their leadership traits, styles, and behaviors. Traits such as Gandhi's vigor and persistence in pursuit of goals. Dr. King's charisma and self confidence, and Powell's ability to influence others helped these leaders to be an effective leader. When we analyze their background and their social context, we can appreciate the reason for the similarities. One major similarity that must have shaped their leadership style is the political and social environment where they grew up. All of them were part of an environment where they experienced oppression and discrimination. All three, who, despite their privileges, um, of being slightly better off than others, felt they need to stand for what is right and what they believe in social identity believe in. Um, the social identity theory provides a unique viewpoint on leadership development. All three showed similar leadership behavior because their leadership emerged through the identity of the group. These leaders had a very good social judgment skill as well. The ability to understand people and social systems enable them to work with together to solve problems and marshal support, to bring change to their community and society. Besides having an excellent social judgment skill, these leaders believed in leading with kindness and compassion. Leader-member exchange theory can explain why these leaders had a similar leadership style. They were similar because of they stood for and the life experience they shared. LMX theory explains how exchanges between leaders and followers can be used for leadership making. Because of rich exchanges with the followers, all three leaders had developed the positive outcomes and shared a high level of LMX. The central tenet of the LMX theory is that leaders differentiate in the way they treat their followers through engaging in different types of social exchanges. And since all three leaders shared similar values and came from same community um, as the followers, it helped bring them in group relationship with the followers. Now, while they shared and exhibited many similar leadership styles, they also had a different leadership in terms of what kind of leader they were. Gandhi and Dr. King both stood for their stance on nonviolence, whereas Powell believed in bringing peace and reconciliation through military power. Their leadership difference is different because of their different upbringing. Dr. King family and his had rose up through the ministerial and clergy role in the church, while Powell had much of his career through an experience in the military. He climbed up the ranks in the U.S. Army and entered civil space. And finally, Gandhi was born and raised in a very traditional Hindu caste system. He had international exposure when he went to study abroad, so he also lived in a very different era than two of the other leaders. Now, with that, Shana will go over the overall understanding of the leadership.
Thank you, Sachin. Colin Powell, Dr. King, and Mahatma Gandhi proved that their type of traits, styles, and competencies were needed for their leadership success. Humanity was also held accountable for themselves and towards others. They have expressed their knowledge to attract and encourage individuals to come together and contribute to bringing truth to the surface for all and holding nothing back from one another. They inspire all to learn how to value everyone's difference and the surrounding systems. Being an excellent listener to speak their minds was a necessary form of empathy. When these leaders spoke, they gave undivided attention as they sought to hear and learn what was important to them. Honesty was important to them as well. Leading with integrity produces truthfulness amongst the people. Telling the truth, even if it hurts, in the end creates loyalty, and people will always appreciate you for that. How leadership is carried out is directly affected by context and culture. Dr. King was leading a group of people who were discriminated because of their appearance, while Powell was leading because of explicit authority that came with his title as military personnel, whereas Gandhi was leading people because he was promoting nationalism against external forces. Though these leaders led during different times and in different ways, they were successful and influential, which is why they are considered great transformational leaders in the history. Thank you.
Now, with that, we would like to conclude our presentation. Um, uh, we'll appreciate your time to take and then look at our presentation. If you have any suggestions or comments or inputs, please provide your inputs in the discussion board thread below. Thank you.